What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the All In Podcast Thursday Thoughts Edition. As always, brought to you by our good friends at FitAid, Cured Nutrition, Iron 3 Formulations, and First Form. We got three of us this week, not four, but three. Me, Teddy, and Cam, and we're just sitting here following up on last week's topic of dropping expectations. And we stepped into this one, and Teddy and Cam had a conversation before coming in here. They had a topic pre-planned, so you get to see kind of my reaction right off the bat and how we kind of move that forward. I actually think there was a lot of unexpected content that came out inside of this that you're really going to be able to learn from, implement immediately. I think that's the coolest part about Thursday Thoughts is you really get to take a step back. You learn some life skills that you can walk away with right now, this very moment, implement, completely change your life, and find success. So listen up, enjoy, and we'll talk to you next week.
When you use a movie quote and you're like,
and you say the wrong word, yeah, not good.
Especially on guys, right? Like girls may just laugh and just not think anything of, like a guy's going to instantly call you out on that. They're going to be like, bullshit.
Yeah, most likely.
I know my movies.
Yeah.
You are wrong, sir.
I'm more...
I clearly do not know my movies, but that's okay.
You know some.
Like two.
It's a solid two,
we were up
though.
to 6 the other day, I think, that you've seen. Mostly Adam Sandler.
I saw one that Cam hasn't seen.
That doesn't even count, though. That's a new movie.
What was that?
Creed 2.
Oh, I haven't seen that either.
It was good.
Damn, and I'm a movie guy.
It was good.
It was good?
Yeah, I liked it.
It looked good. I like Michael Jordan. He's a bit of a badass.
Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
Michael
B.
Michael
B. Jordan.
People probably like, oh, the movie was terrible. Like, I am not the kind of person that should be rating movies. Like, if I stay awake through it, then it was good.
Yeah, that's true.
Like that's my definition of good. People don't understand my affinity to falling asleep.
It's a really low standard to set.
Oh, it is.
It keeps my attention.
Yeah.
It's solid.
Do you think we could take Jason to the new Avengers movie and you would stay up?
No.
Dude,
I'll
not
answer it for
underestimate.
you.
I feel like people that haven't watched them and have this idea of what it is, it's magical.
I would fall asleep. Guaranteed.
I don't see how.
Guaranteed.
They're pretty good.
No, in
They're
5 minutes
pretty
I would be
They
fantastic.
are
gone.
made to make you completely addicted and watch every single one.
Yes.
We could probably YouTube this. I could go, and I promise you I could be sleeping inside of 5 minutes.
I feel like it's worth doing, like taking the GoPro and
I'm
just see.
disgusted at you, sir.
Any movie but Avengers. Don't say that about Avengers.
And it's not like because I don't like Avengers. I just genuinely like. So you guys know classical conditioning, right? Like the whole Pavlov's dog, like ring the bell, dog comes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a period of time where every night I went to sleep watching a movie. Like I'd turn a movie on and I would fall asleep. Like it was just how I fell asleep. I literally think I'm programmed. A movie comes on, Jason goes to sleep. Like on a plane, turn a movie on, I'm out.
Yeah.
And
See, like your body just saying like, hey, time to...
It's like my body just knows it's time to shut down. I don't know why, but it's...
See,
and maybe I'm wrong, because growing up, obviously, I watched plenty of movies and never fell asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just kind of went through this phase where that's what happened.
That was the downtime.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I'm the same way. Like that's how I grew up. I like watching movies, going to sleep, but I still actually watch them.
Yeah, I didn't watch them.
I still followed
No, I fell
through.
asleep. Yeah. No, I actually went to sleep. I value that whole sleep thing. I don't get very much of it, so I actually value it.
That's fair. You got to practice what you preach a little bit, and we're as a company, we're pretty big on sleep. So I guess
kinda
I just hear excuses. I don't know about you guys.
we can't give Jason shit because he's getting extra sleep. Like that kind of
Yeah.
goes against everything we're about. But for Avengers, no. I want to believe that you would actually stay up, and I would argue that you would.
I want to believe so bad.
I want to believe so
Listen,
bad.
you guys just keep believing in false hope. It's okay.
I feel like a right nerd, like a complete nerd, but I'm proud of it because I've never been so excited for a movie.
When does it even come out?
26th, day after my birthday. And shout out to the podcast. My birthday's 25th. If you want to send anything,
Everybody send Teddy a gift to the corporate office.
that'd be nice. I'd
Address can
appreciate
be
it.
found nowhere.
Blank checks can be mailed.
Just somewhere. Just send it to Arizona. I'll find it. I'm an explorer.
Oh, like geotagging, isn't that what it's
Yeah,
called?
yeah.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
That'd be cool if people did that for your birthday, right? They were just like, hey, by the way, we just sent gifts all over the United States.
It could be
Here
like
you
the
go.
Hunger Games. Speaking of movies, you know how
Oh,
like they drop
Hunger
things with
Games.
the parachutes from the sky.
Yeah.
All
One
right,
day.
This is literally going fucking sideways.
Let's go into movie
I completely lost interest as you guys were saying that, and I just found myself scrolling
This is
Facebook as you were
serious.
talking about movies.
Yeah.
So
FOMO.
Cameron, we were. How are you doing, Cameron?
Doing good, man.
Life's good.
Life's good.
Yeah.
Nice relaxing weekend.
Good.
Yeah, man. Back to hashtag basics. So
Yeah. Back to basics.
crushing it this week.
What do you do on the weekend?
What I do this weekend?
Yeah.
Just hung out mainly, man. Got some pool time in. Got some sunshine.
A little bit of
Got out in nature. It was
GTL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
GTL. Jesus. Where is this podcast going? Oh my goodness.
This will never make the light of day. That's the reason
yeah,
it's
I'm not
still
sure
going.
this one's ever going to be released, guys.
I'm just letting people into like what we normally talk about outside of the serious stuff.
I think people think that sometimes that is all we talk about is serious stuff. People
Yeah.
don't realize that's actually something that I kind of take pride in, is the fact that like people meet us, they're like, yeah, you guys are just really normal people.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we're pretty like normal, goofy, like
Yeah.
we're like, there's nothing special here. That Brad was telling me a story like when I went to Utah, this guy didn't put two and two together. It's like he met me and he didn't realize like this sounds so fucking douchey to say, so like I hope this doesn't come off wrong, like that I was Jason Phillips. And then like I guess he texted Brad later that day and he was like, oh my god, that was Jason Phillips. He was like freaking out.
He didn't
and
realize
Brad's,
at the time?
No, and Brad's like, well, I'll get you an autograph. He's like, oh my god, that'd be amazing. And I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna like? What am I gonna sign? Like I'm
That's
nobody,
awesome.
dude. Like why the fuck do you want my autograph?
Will you sign
Which-
my chest?
yeah, like apparently, like I don't know what the
Sign
fuck
my
else I'm
baby.
gonna sign.
Yeah, right.
So,
He
but
brings the
no, like
baby.
it's always interesting to me, man. Like whenever, because I mean, you guys get it now. Like everywhere we go, people know who you are now, and like people are slowly starting to know who Cam is. It's just like I don't know. It's just like this natural progression, which is kind of cool. But
I can understand it. Like when
Yeah.
I met you for the first time, like obviously because I'd seen like you through like different media outlets and stuff, I hadn't like an expectation word drop of what you would be like and who you were as a person, and then it was like really, you know, awesome to just be like, oh, this guy's just a dude doing his thing.
I'm a pretty normal person. Like I don't.
And
I don't know. I mean, I've got my quirks, like I think everybody does, but
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's anything.
But everyone is like
crazy.
that's
Yeah.
the best thing. Like as soon as you start realizing that in life, like hey, everyone's a normal human being. Everyone like goes home like and has family and personal shit, and we all kind of like do the same thing, even though there's titles ahead of us and there's preconceived notions of what someone's about. Like we're humans.
That's
It's
so
really
true.
ironic to me. So many people will put others on a pedestal without knowing them or knowing anything about them. Yet they're afraid to put themselves on the pedestal.
Yeah.
Like I absolutely operate with the fundamental belief that I can help anybody, right? In any walk of life. I feel like I've been through enough shit. I've created enough success. Like, and I just believe genuinely that I'm a good person and I want to help, and just the desire to help is usually the first step. Like, I'm not afraid to say that. And there's so many people that are like, oh, you know, so-and-so's better than me at this and so-and-so's better than me at this. And that's all just self-projected. Like, why are we so afraid to put ourselves on any kind of pedestal or cheer for ourselves or be our own cheerleaders? And yet, like, we'll do it for other people all day, every day. Like, that makes zero sense to me.
Do you think it's just people afraid of being like critiqued and putting
100%.
themselves out
It's
there?
yeah. It's the single biggest problem with people today. They're afraid of being judged. Like, everybody is so afraid of what other people think. It
Yeah.
is the single most paralyzing thought, and that's like Gary Vee, Joe Rogan, like all the top people that have really figured shit out. You listen to them talk, and they're just like, I don't fucking care. And like we kind of touched on this like last week, right?
Yeah.
Like I tell this story about like the kid in high school. Like I know I've shouted him out before on the podcast, like Ryan Schofield.
Kid's famous.
Right? he doesn't
People
even,
just
he doesn't
walking
even
up to
know
him
me.
like, oh my
So,
gosh.
Yeah,
I
Jason
heard Jason Phillips
Phillips.
mention you. Maybe one day, like when we're actually famous. But
He has no idea.
no, but like, you know, he just stayed in his own lane. He did his own thing, and like he believed in himself. And, you know, sure enough, by the end of his high school career and now today, like people really want to be a part of his life and like what he's doing. And yeah, I think to some degree our company is like that. You know, a lot of people early on in our business kind of career, everyone's like, oh, you got to change your model. Like that'll never work. And just kind of put my head down and was like, thanks for the advice. Like I'm going to do my own thing. And, you know, now people want to be associated with what we're doing because we bet on ourselves. We didn't bet on other people's bullshit. And I think that more than anything, you know, having guidance is great, but you got to know what the fuck you want. And that's kind of a beautiful part of IN3 is we ask our clients, very first thing, what do you want? Because I'm not here to guide you down a path you don't want to fucking go on, right? In business and life, in you know, nutrition, whatever. I'm not here to guide you on any path that you don't want to go on. I'm here for you to fundamentally tell me where you are today, for you to tell me where you want to be. I'm just here to help you bridge that gap. That's it. Like that's my whole role as a coach, mentor, and leader. I don't save you from anything you're currently going through. I don't have any magical solutions. I'm able to see things a little bit faster and a little more clearly than most. Like that's what I do as a coach. And I'm able to help you circumvent the shit that might get in the way. Like the end.
Yeah.
But that's where so many people I think go wrong is you think that this coach is the one that's going to tell you where to go. And if you're looking to a coach for somebody to give you your outcome, like, you're wrong. You're actually investing in coaching for the wrong reasons. You need to know your desired outcome, and the coach should just help you get there.
I like
that
that.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I have to give you props. So this is before like we'd ever met. Probably maybe in the middle of my lead nurturing of you. I'm not sure.
Lead nurturing
Yeah.
of me.
That term,
We'll tell that
but-
story on another podcast.
yeah, we'll get into that another time.
It sounds very interesting.
But dude, like, so, you know, I was trying to start like the second time online coaching stuff, and like I was just going to the gurus, and you know, they had these simple processes set up, and they were trying to get you to get people on templates and all this stuff. And I don't know, I'm guessing it was probably your guys' podcast. I don't know if it was a Thursday Thoughts or you're interviewing
Sounds about
somebody.
right. It's a pretty good podcast.
But you know, you were really talking in depth about how everyone told you like this model wouldn't work, not to do this model. You needed to push people into like giant peer-to-peer coaching programs, and they needed templates, and you could not scale individualization and customization. And like I was right at that time where like I had just started a program that was all about templates and pushing people into this thing and trying to get before and afters and trying to scale that whole thing. And then I heard your podcast, and I was like, it already wasn't sitting with me right. And then I was like, man, it's just, this isn't what I want to do.
Yeah.
And that was like, I think literally when I started like trying to pursue you harder, and then trying to actually.
Yeah,
like,
but
get on.
you know, fair play. Like, props to you for understanding that. Like you said the words, "This isn't what I want to do." A lot of people they'll listen to the gurus and they'll listen to the people that are out there, and they'll say, "Well, so and so is successful, and if they say it, it must be right, regardless of how I feel about it." Like, if you don't feel good about what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, whether you're making billions of dollars or whether you're barely scraping by, like, you shouldn't fucking be doing it. And, you know, one of the first things that we ask people in the business setting, like when we're trying to create financial success, is like, again, it's the same as the nutrition coaching question. What do you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, business is not overly difficult. I mean, really, like, at the core of it, every business is the same. It's about figuring out where you are today, where you want to go, and how do we actually help customers so that we create financial success inside of that. But people don't know how they want to be operating, and they're trying to pigeonhole themselves into somebody else's template. I think the beauty of what we've done inside of the mastermind, inside of our business coaching, is like we really have 60 different people operating in 60 different just 60 different ways of conducting business and 60 different models, and it's amazing. And that's honestly what I'm most proud of inside of that product is, you know, we don't charge the most amount of money for our mastermind. I certainly believe we could. I believe we, like, fundamentally, I'll put it on record on a podcast and say it, like, I believe we deliver a better quality of service than everybody in the space. And I've been a part of $100,000 groups. Our quality of service is higher, our attention to detail is higher, and our attention to the individual is higher. And I'm so proud of the fact that we have built a product that literally reflects our message, which is individualization, customization, personal implementation. And that's something I can go to the grave with, man. Like, that's something you could come up to me on the street and be like, would you like pull the scenes back, pull the curtains back on what you're doing? 100%. Because there's nothing to hide. Like, the business that we operate is exactly what we promote. And that's amazing, because a lot of people can't say that. A lot of people in business, like, their marketing doesn't match up with their fulfillment, and that's scary. So yeah, I mean, again, it all comes back to this notion of what do you want? And I think that, if everyone is still listening after a horrible intro today,
I like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I have no problem with movie talk. I think you have a problem with movie talk.
You got to
But-
warm the audience into the conversation.
You might have
And there's
fucking
a lot
put
of
'em-
Avengers
put 'em
fans
to
out
sleep.
there.
But no, I
Ouch.
think that I think if everybody understands and they take away from this, like, just a simple question: what do you want? Right? If you can truly understand what you actually want, then all of a sudden you can build a process and systems and structure and ultimately scale, if that's what you desire, around success, because you found success that resonates with you.
Dude, I would argue it's the same for like the nutrition coaching side. I think you do exactly the same with that. Like, all the points that you've just listed off, like it's all like you've done
For
it the way
sure.
you've wanted. Like, no process is the same for every client. Like, it's all about that individualization, and like it kind of takes it back to the whole there's always like a perceived way of like how things should be done in life. Like, no matter what the example is, like we grow up and we're told this is how things happen. And we were talking about how it's like the people that don't do it that way, they're the ones that actually end up being successful.
Yeah.
So it's like, the same with the companies and the same with what you're doing. Like, it's not that you're trying to be rebellious. You've just kind of like grown into your own way of doing things and grown confident in your own skin to be like, this is how I do things. This is what feels right for me. And, you know, it's grown a following, and it's grown people that have been like, hey, that's really cool, and I'm attracted to that because it's not the way that society says things should be done.
You know, I had this call with one of Brad's employees on Friday, actually, before Kevin and I went golfing. Mm-hmm. And shout out to Kevin for putting up for
You're going to have to tell us about that.
I'll tell you guys about the next one. It was actually really fun. And I played really well on the back nine. But nice. You know, I had this call with this girl that works for Brad, and I asked her, you know, so one of the exercises I do when I do like team development is I'm like, hey, like, tell me what this company means to you, because everybody has a different definition. And ultimately what you end up finding out is that the definition that the team has is never what's being promoted, which is super ironic. Mm-hmm. So you're effectively promoting something that is not what the experience is. And I'm like, what if you actually started promoting the experience? Don't you think there would be more power? And they're like, holy fuck, right? So like instantly, like the language changes, right? And so then I asked, like, you know, what are the positives of this company and what are the negatives? And so, you know, obviously the positives allow us to build culture, the negatives allow us to create improvement. And then you take a step back and you look at all three lists, and when done in a group environment, it's very powerful, right? There's 20 things on each list. It's like, what's the single commonality in all of that? Do you know what the answer to that question is? Teddy's looking at me.
Well, I was checking the sound bite, so I kind of I was like, I don't know if he's going to ask me a question right now, but I took 5 seconds to look at the levels are good. No, what was it?
The single commonality across all three is it's the individual, right? And so if I told you, like, why are we successful? What is the single greatest positive and what is the single worst negative, right? It's all going to come down to me. And so what you start to figure out is what I desire matters, what I do matter, mm-hmm. and what I do actually is going to has built all the positives, but is also responsible for the negatives. Yeah. And what I try to get across to every individual is if you show up and, you know, you continue to create more of those positives and you work on correcting your negatives and you work on being there for other people instead of correcting theirs, like the power that happens inside of this space is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, like, when I was with Brad in Utah, like the conversation I had around this, like literally light bulbs went off in every single person's head. And Brad told me, it's been a little over a week since I've been there. He told me like the office environment is completely shifted. Like everybody's like there for one another, supporting one another, working for one another. Mm-hmm. Like it's truly a team environment. And so like I really believe the power that we all either accept or give away is the differentiator between success and lack of success. And so many people want to deflect that power because they're afraid of it. It's a very scary thing to look at yourself and be like, okay, I am the single person responsible for my success, mm-hmm. right? We want somebody else, and we're taught from an early age other people have the answers, mm-hmm. when in reality you have all the answers. And so it's scary to fucking accept that.
Hell yeah.
Right? And then when we fail, we were taught from an early age to blame people. Why did you fail? You start like looking around you. Yet I don't care if it's like you're fucking caught in a tornado, right? Like if you're like, well, you know, I got fucking injured because a tornado hit me, and you're like, you blame the tornado. Like, no, at the end of the day, you were still a person that was there. Like whether or not it was accident or not, you were the person responsible for being there. So at the end of the day, you look yourself in the mirror and you're like, hey, it's on me. Mm-hmm. And if we all started accepting power at scale, holy shit, the world would change. Mm-hmm. The problem is it's never going to be a universal thing. So we'll always fight these battles. But the people that figure it out, that's where that's why success happens.
That's awesome though. So basically what you did was you empowered them, right? You empowered the individual, which then completely changed their company culture.
That's such a mindset shift.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing to do within a day or two, right? Like that's pretty awesome that's exactly what you accomplished in that. I'm not trying to like hey, go hire Jason. I'm just like, that's awesome that you had those talks with them, and that you literally, that's all you had to do was empower them to understand their responsibilities, and that's on them. And they are responsible for everything.
That ownership
literally
piece
led to an instant company shift and culture shift.
So I will give a cheap plug. NCS is coming, and there's 60 seats available. Mm-hmm. If you want that experience, like whether you're on a team or whether you want to bring your team, I can assure you, and Teddy was there last year, he can vouch for this. Yeah. Like, it will be the most impactful 48 hours you ever spend with me. And, you know, so I've had someone ask, like, how is it different from, like, a mastermind? I had people come to, like, the mastermind the week before and then NCS, like, the week after. And I just kind of bring it differently. Mm-hmm. It's much more about figuring out why are you not where you want to be, mm-hmm. like the end. And it's the Nutritional Coaching and Business Summit because I'm going to teach you how to be the best coach, but I'm also going to teach you how to be the best business person, which ironically comes with very similar skill sets.
Yeah.
And it's super tactical, man. Like, I don't want this to be a fucking promo, so I'm not going to go down there. But like,
I think people
like,
know it's not. I think it's more just
yeah, like I don't want to be. I fucking hate when people do that. But it's like, you know, I mean, like fundamentally, like we just look at the fucking success from like last year. There's like Brad that literally came in like stuck at like 700K, and now he surpassed 1 million, right? And that's been since December. So in like inside of 1 quarter, like we went 50% greater. That's amazing. Like Courtney Bear, who comes in, she really had no business, and she's almost doing 6 figures.
shout out to Courtney.
Yeah, like shout out to Courtney for dominating like the 50-plus-year-old like age group. Like she's dominating her niche.
She was a different person when we saw her a couple of weeks ago too.
She's always, yeah. I mean, just the simple shift. Like, I mean, and I have example after example. I mean, we built a product with Zach Mobius, like that literally this year will do $500,000. We built it in a day.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just like, fuck, man, I can't put it into words. Like, I'm fired up, and maybe it's on my mind because like we filmed the promo video for it this morning.
Yeah.
But I'm super fired up about this event, and I love, like, there's nothing I love more than showing up and like having the room be really quiet and ominous and just starting to get after it with people. And like when I say get after it, you'll cry. You're going to come to this room and you're going to cry. So like fair warning, if you don't want to cry, don't come to this event because there's a lot of shit that I'm going to make you realize that you're carrying that will truly transform you personally, physically, financially, emotionally. Like, and it's a life-changing experience. I fundamentally believe it. And we're at the beginning stages of it. It's only year number 2. Give me 5 years. I'm going to pack thousands of people into that room, and I'm going to fucking change people's lives.
Dude, I would argue it to be healthy tears, though. Like, I've cried twice in this last month, and then since before then, I don't remember the last time I cried. Yeah, man. And both times I did, like an hour later, I felt really fucking good about it. And I think it takes a strong person to cry.
100%.
And like sometimes just own your emotions.
100%.
And like, when you say cry, it does sound like an intimidating thing, but it's a great thing.
It is, and I think that, yeah, it's, well, just the fact that you've got, you know, last year there's 25 people in the room, right? The fact that you've got 25 people being willing to cry in front of one another just tells you how safe of a space that we create. And I'm super proud of that as well, right? The crazy part to me is we'll do these one-day masterminds, right, where we only have 10 people in there, and all 10 people inevitably end up getting super emotional and super vulnerable. And that to me, like above everything else, it's like, great, I'm glad I can deliver business success to you. But above everything else, I look at it and I'm like, hey, we built a really safe space for you to come in and feel like you can drop your guard and tell us your deepest shit.
Yeah.
Like, props to us for that because it's not easy to do.
That is
So I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
Do you think it goes back to, I mean, obviously it always goes back to what do you want, right? People realizing that they can't achieve it, and then they get emotional when they realize that it was them the whole time, right? That was maybe holding them back. But do you think really it's all just based around fear? Do you think it goes back to just people being scared, whether it's putting themselves on a pedestal or just my point getting at that, like, do you think that people make most of their decisions in life based on fear versus, you know, because it's the right thing to do or because it's something
I think it's different types of fear. I think fear of judgment is like the paralyzing fear. You know, you're a great example. I think a lot of people could have been like, why are you going to fucking get in your car and drive across the country and work for this guy that you've never even met? And, you know, guys,
so many people ask me that.
Like, I'm sure a lot of people did.
Yeah.
Right. And there's like a genuine, but in your mind, you're like, hey, I'm betting on myself. Right. You weren't betting on the company as much as you were betting on yourself. Like when you came out here, you're like, I know that I have value I can bring, and God forbid they're fucking douchebags, I'll go and I'll do my thing. Right. Like you truly bet on yourself. So that was your way of overcoming fear. I think so many people would let the fear of judgment dictate them not making decisions like that. You know, even Teddy, like, you know, dude, you coming to work for us, like, people could have judged me and been like, why are you hiring somebody with no media experience to literally run the media department of your company?
It's freaking true.
And but here's the thing, like, I bet on myself. Like, I knew that, like, I could put you in positions to grow, and I knew that, like, whatever your skill set was, we were going to leverage it. And, like,
and I'll admit, I was crappy when I started off. Like,
and I disagree. I think that, like,
I've improved a lot.
It's a growth, man. It's a growth curve, and I think there's no such thing. There's no such thing as good and bad in this world. It's your perception of it and your ability to fundamentally understand it. And, was your quality then what it is today? No, but your skill set wasn't as developed. And so there were no expectations. And I have a feeling we're going to talk about expectations because when I said that earlier, you guys got there. So, by the way, guys, I had no idea what today's topic is. So that's why I say that.
For the first time, we haven't told Jason what today's topic is.
So, but when you create expectations, there is no good and bad, or, there becomes good and bad. I try not to live with that. Like I try to show up every day and look at facts and then, course correct and then like reassess. And that's it's these cycles I continue to go in. I don't really have favorable or unfavorable. Like it's, I really try to make everything just factual.
Yeah.
And maybe that makes me a very non-emotional person, but I'll always believe that like decisions made on emotion are usually the wrong decisions. So that's how I try to treat my business life anyway. I'm not saying that's how I am away from here, but
No.
I saw Aubrey Marcus. He had a great, it was a post, but I don't know if he quoted it or he was quoting somebody else. No, it was a couple days ago. But he was saying that, like puzzles are for the mind and, living's for the heart. And I was like, whoa. That's
a really good quote.
I was like, whoa, that's really deep.
That's a really good quote.
It made me think because,
that guy.
how many times do you just get caught up, whether it's fear or whatever it is, whether it's trying to get a promotion, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's just whatever, right? And then, like, you start analyzing all the possibilities in your head, and then you're just finally like, you know what? Like, 6 of those 7 possibilities suck. I'm out.
Well, and I mean, there's a whole psychological aspect there that then goes into success, and we could bring this back to, like, a sales conversation. A salesperson I instruct people when you're selling to get on a call and assume the sale. Like I get actually offended if people don't buy from me because I'm like, I know I have the solutions to your problems. Like it's not a money thing because we can always find the money. So I'm actually offended that you're making the decision. And that means it's actually a function of me. I look at myself and I'm like, why did I not present this the right way so that you understand I do have the solutions that you're looking for? But there's a lot of salespeople that will get on calls very hesitant and they're like, well, maybe this will go well, maybe it won't. Well, here's why it won't go well because I'm cold calling or like whatever. You're just building excuses for it not to go well. You're basically pre-programming your subconscious brain to tell you that it's not going to go well. So at some point you're going to actually fuck it up, right? Because you're the one that put that into your own brain. So, a lot of self-talk has to happen. But going back to your question, do I think it's fear? I think there's just different types of fear. There's fear of judgment. There's fear of the unknown. I believe fear of judgment is the single biggest deciding factor in people not seeing success.
I would have to completely agree. I think most people, most of the time, literally are making decisions based on fear versus based on is it the right thing or is this going to help me out? It's just all, whether it's I'm afraid if I ask for that promotion, I'm going to get rejected. If I ask my wife to go on a date, she's going to tell me she's busy, whatever, right?
Yep.
It's just, I think most decisions are all fear-based, and if you would just step out and just take some chances, I think going back to the whole empowering thing, I think you would find a completely different person that lets go of those fear-type questions, those fear-type solutions. Because, I mean, like March Madness is right now, right? And I love all the MJ quotes and all the Kobe quotes I've been seeing coming out, and it's the best quotes are just talking about how, like, they've never been afraid to take that last shot, and it's not because they're worried about being successful. They're just not afraid to fail in that moment. Yeah. And that's what you have to be, right? You have to be put in a position first, right, to hit the game winner, but you also can't be afraid to take the game winner, not putting expectations on whether it's going in or not, just knowing and doing.
Well, and that goes back to the whole just betting on yourself.
Yep.
Right? They know that, hey, if I miss the game winner today, I'm going to make it tomorrow.
100%.
And they're willing to bet on themselves for that, like, repeatability. And I think that fundamentally it's the issue is they're fearful, and so they really allow the opinions and the directives of others to dictate their actions, and they're not willing to bet on themselves because they don't believe in what they do strongly enough to actually bet on that.
Yeah.
And so I think that a lot of people need to take a look at it, and this goes, again, circling back, what do you want? You don't even fucking know what you want, so how can you decide what you're even good at? How can you even decide how you're going to take action?
Yeah.
And so you're literally, by not identifying what you want, you're left to the devices of others. You are left to live by the judgments of others because you haven't decided and declared what you want, so other people get to declare it for you. Because at some point, there has to be something, right? So it's either you or it's them. Like, take the action for yourself.
For sure.
I know which one sounds better.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and one more basketball analogy, and then it'll tie in, I promise, to our actual
Come on,
topic
Cameron.
for today.
It's a lot of basketball.
No, but it's just even talking about the game
joking.
winner, right? Like, I think a lot of people, even in today's age with social media and everything, right? You try to hit that game winner in the first 5 minutes of the game, and when it doesn't happen, right? Then you just quit. And you're like, I'm over it. I'll try something else.
Yeah.
So true.
And instead of like realizing like it's all about timing, it's all about patience, right? It's all about working the game. It's about
Hashtag word drop.
it's all about actually going through the processes that you know to put yourself again in that position to even have the chance at the game winner, right?
Mhm.
But you have to go through all those ups and downs. You
Yeah.
have to go through 10-point swings. You have to go through foul trouble. All these March Madness analogies. I know you're not a big March Madness fan, Teddy, but
Not much. I like basketball though.
but it's so true. Like you have to be ready to go through those ups and downs to even
Yeah.
get yourself into that position, which goes back to patience, right?
yeah, it does.
Patience.
I was
I'm
just
gonna
about
say it
to
one more time. Patience.
Patience. No, I totally agree with that, dude. Like, I think that people are so afraid to fail even the first time, and when they realize that, like, obviously, cliche as it sounds, like, failing is a fucking good thing, and, like, it's gonna happen regardless of how good you are at whatever, or, you know, just
It's gonna happen every day.
yeah, it's gonna happen every day,
Yep.
and good, you know, like it keeps us on our toes. But
Yeah, you should desire it.
yeah, for sure.
I mean, there's plenty of times when I'm making emails and I'll send them to Jay, and I have a couple game winners, and then a couple times he just goes, "Let's start over," or he's like, "Here's some edits,"
Delete.
You know? And I'm just
But
like,
that's okay. I mean,
it's just
like,
feedback. It's all feedback.
Yeah,
It's like
and there's,
words are words.
That's the thing. Well, that's actually a really good example because there's no emotional response from you on that. Like if I take like your draft and I just rewrite it, I'm like, here you go, send this out. But then there's other times it's just like, hey, killed it. Like either way, you don't get emotional about it. Like
No.
you're just like, all right, it is what it is. It's done. And I think so many people try to get emotional about every single thing that happens.
Yeah.
Well, because I don't take that as an inward reflection. I know, like,
No.
the goal's bigger. Like, we're trying to communicate something to someone,
Yep.
right, to make their life better.
That's it.
It's not on me to.
He's not like saying I don't like it to be a dick.
Yeah,
he's
he's
saying
not
it's like, hey, this is the
Cam, you
business.
fucked up.
Yeah.
Don't send me that bullshit again.
I don't like you anymore.
Yeah, we're not friends.
But actually, we're 31 minutes into this podcast, and I would argue there's already a hell of a lot to take,
I would agree.
considering that's the unplanned bit. So Cameron and I were talking about yesterday, and we thought that a nice stepping stone from last week's episode and expectation would actually be on the topic of patience.
Uh-huh.
Cameron, intro it.
Yeah.
What's patience to you?
So I looked up a couple of different quotes just because we had a nice conversation on Monday. Or was it Monday or Sunday? I don't remember.
Kind of Sunday night, but like more Monday.
Yeah, we were just texting back and forth, right? And just kind of talking about life and what we were doing this weekend. And I
Mhm.
know you went to Country Thunder and all that stuff, right?
Country,
That's
yeah.
Country Thunder.
So American.
You know, so we just started talking about, like, you know, what happens with expectations and when you release them. And it just kind of got wrapped up right into Teddy's like, you know, honestly, I think the next logical step is patience. And it makes complete sense, right? Because when you release those expectations, it allows you to then accept patience, right? It allows you to step back and see the bigger picture.
Mhm.
And I know, like, here at IN3, a lot of times it's all just like, go, go, go. Let's just create content. Let's push it out, you know. But as a company, we've actually been creating patience lately, you know,
Right.
which I know is something that,
Well,
that you're not accustomed to.
I'm going to say there's a difference. I think that what we've been creating is macro patience.
Sure.
I have no micro patience, nor do I think I ever will, nor do I think I ever should. I think too many people try to use the word patience, and there's multiple definitions. And I love Gary Vee used to talk about micro speed, macro patience. Like what needs to be done needs to be done, and you need to do it. And you need to do it now, and you need to not fucking wait. You need to not procrastinate,
Yep.
and you need to not make excuses. But this goes back to the whole conversation of everything becoming transactional. You need to be patient once you've implemented, because implementing is the game. Like you can only control your actions.
Sure.
And you need to become very patient in the results. Like I love, like, what is it? Like the Stanford marshmallow study, right? It's the, have you heard of it? Right. It's the
I don't
delayed
know.
gratification study. And so they put a kid in a room with a marshmallow.
Okay.
And they said, I'm going to walk out of this room, but if you don't eat this marshmallow, then we'll give you, like, what is it? Like,
Yeah, I don't
they
remember the
give them
exact
something,
parameters.
right? Like
Yeah.
there's a very compelling
Yeah.
reason not to eat the marshmallow.
Okay.
Right? Like we'll give you tons of, like 1 million of them or some shit. I forget like what it is. But basically they leave the room. And they leave the room and they have no intention of coming back in. And they watch how long it takes somebody to eat the marshmallow.
Mm-hmm.
They observed all this crazy shit. Like some kids ate it the second they walked out because they're like, oh, fuck it. And
I
some
fucking love
kids
marshmallows.
like bit the top off and like turned it upside down. And
Oh.
like some people tried to like, and then there were some kids that were super patient, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then they followed these kids throughout life. Who do you think were the most successful people?
The patient ones.
The patient ones, right? They were able to delay gratification. Well,
or maybe the ones that bid a little bit and turned it over. Little sneaky.
They probably weren't as good. But like, but there was, you start looking at that, and we talk about this 3-dimensional model, frame family finance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you can be patient inside of your physical results and your physical transformation, you're going to see success. If you can be patient inside of your connection with others and understand, like, not everyone's going to have a great day every day, like, that's great. And if you can be patient inside of your finances and not buy something today because you want it today and understand the bigger picture, you're going to be more successful.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that, you got to do the work right now that needs to be done and not become complacent, but you have to have patience in the grand scheme of what your big picture is. And, so I love, like, and I live by micro speed, macro patience.
Yeah,
I love
that's
that.
that's awesome.
I thought that was a really way to frame it. Good way to frame it like that. It makes sense. I just think another way that I look at it is that we're naturally, as human beings, a lot of us, I don't think all of us are like this, but like we're naturally short-term go-getters, and we forgo the long-term, and like it's not our first fault when we think about making decisions, me included. So I just think like that type of thinking is kind of like so poisonous, and Gary Vee's always big on it. He's like, short-term, like I'm not short-term, I'm long-term. He's like, I could make 4 million now or 40 million in 4 years,
Yeah.
And
I think everybody can identify times in their life where they've done stupid shit in the short term.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've openly talked about, buying my i8. It was like I had the money and I was like, I don't care. Like, it's my dream. And like, had I really sat down and thought about it, I'm like, this is the stupidest fucking financial decision ever. And like, but here I am 3 years removed, and I'm like, well, $100,000 later, that literally, is for what? To drive a car for $100,000. I'm like, it's the stupidest decision ever.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I look at it, it was an awful decision in the micro. I showed no patience. Now though, like, you look at where I'm at and look at like the way I handle finances completely different. Like, I don't make awful decisions. I'm fucking downsizing virtually everything in my life. Like, and so it was a great lesson. Absolutely. 100%. And, it was just a good lesson, so I think that like we all need to understand in our life where we have not operated with patience. And I think moving forward, but the truth is we're all going to make that mistake, because I completely agree with you. I think we're just creatures of speed. Like we all want speed, and in a lot of times speed is the game inside of execution. Right. And this is where I can't express this enough, is execution and results are completely different things. Right? We cannot become transactional and think that every time we execute, it's going to create a result. Execution is what matters. The end. Once you're done executing, you need to take the step back and be patient and just watch and observe what happens, and then course correct.
Yeah.
That's all you have control over. I've said it a million times, as intelligent as I am inside of the nutritional space, and I feel like I could build everybody a reasonably accurate dietary prescription, there's no guarantees. Right? So my job is to build you a dietary protocol that on paper and in theory is supposed to be successful. And then we watch. I can't make guarantees. I have to be patient. I got to watch how your body responds. And then we course correct and we move forward. Can I guarantee I can get you shredded in 12 weeks? Sure. But there's nothing that like I believe is successful about that, because that's setting you up for long-term disaster. And that's what so many people miss. So there has to be a line drawn between execution and results, and I think it's the most blurred line in virtually everything.
I think a great example on like a nutritional side of thing is like we always talk about like the scale and how we hate the scale, because the scale means that if you're looking at the scale every day, you aren't patient, and you're actually kind of like you're living for those short-term gains rather than the overall process. So as soon as you take the scale out of it and you just focus on back to the basics, doing the basics right every day, and that's how you're executing, and not judging like your performance or your like using the scale as your end goal every day. Like, that's how you are living for the long term. And I think I would argue you're less stressed because of it. You're more inclined to be successful, and that just is a great example.
For sure.
I think it goes back to living in the process too. I think so many people are living inside of results and not living in the process. Patient people live in the process. Impatient people live inside of results.
And they learn to live the process too, those patient people.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
it's so cliche to say, like, love the journey or love the, trust the process, but it's true. Like, if you
100%.
don't appreciate the struggle and the amount of time you put in, then the end result's not going to matter either way.
Exactly.
Like,
I mean, think about somebody that struggles their way to this end scale number, right? Like, I mean, they fight and they hate it and they're miserable and they're a cranky fucking asshole. Like all of a sudden they hit this result, they're not going to stay there. They're going to go back to what made them happy, right? And we could sit here and be like, well, there should be no food, no emotion attached to food and blah, blah, blah. Like we can say that, but it's just not true.
No.
And the journey should make you happy. And so it's like, hey, what if we took double the time to get you there, but you actually stay there? Wouldn't you want that versus like, hey, I can get you there in half the time, but then in double the time, you're literally going to be right back to where you are. What do you want? And of course, somebody wants to stay at the result. So it's like, well, let's just slow it down. Let's enjoy what we're doing. Let's actually build a process that's sustainable. And I think you're going to be a lot happier in the long term. But again, like Western culture, we're conditioned to think that speed and that execution and results are synonymous, and they're just not.
Yeah.
They're completely different things.
Goes back to the culture code. I keep referencing
Yeah.
this, guys. 100 times. Going to make it a requirement for everybody in
I
the
don't
office
mind
to
it.
read.
It sounds like a great
But
book.
yeah, I mean, they just talk about Americans and how we have the adolescent mindset, and it doesn't change, and it's just been instilled in us.
I completely agree with that.
And they go section by section, topic by topic, and it's mind-blowing to really sit back and think, and then once you obviously know the code, you can use it to your advantage and then, get people to shift their identities and stuff. But I mean, honestly, what are people chasing when they chase that number, right? They're chasing that feeling that they had then. And most of the time when I talk with people, they always pick a weight they were in high school. I don't know why, but I swear every time when they tell me a number,
Those are the best days of their life.
yeah,
So
I
that's
think
what they
right.
associate with.
They didn't have expectations then, right? They were living that carefree attitude. They were just like, the world was at their doorsteps. They were probably getting ready to go to college. They probably didn't have kids, and they chased that number thinking it's going to provide them happiness. When and yet it's probably because they just didn't have a lot on their plate, and they felt more, carefree, and they just
That was actually the feeling that
yeah,
attracted
and
them.
that's
not-
what they're chasing. I think a lot of people don't understand that you're associating a number with happiness, when in reality, it's just your perception of what's going on around you that you're actually chasing.
Well, I mean,
Damn, mind
we
blown.
like, we all think about these times that like we previously had in our life, right? And we all over romanticize them. If I asked you about like a college party, you'd be like, "Oh, it was so amazing," and like, but then if we went back to like what it actually was, it was probably some dirty ass dorm room with like some cheap ass
Fact.
fucking liquor
Not that
and like
great.
Playing beer pong with dirty cups.
if you
Felt
literally
terrible the next
took
day.
yourself back to that environment today, you'd be like, "What the fuck am I
Yeah,
doing?" But
yeah.
like your memory around it is so sexy and so glamorous and so glorified, and that's what you say. People have this vision of that, and all they remember is the emotion that was brought out by it. They don't really remember the physical setting or what took to get there, or they certainly don't remember like the morning after or like any of that, right? And so you take yourself back to this moment and you think that it's going to re-elicit like all of those like positive things, when in reality, you're a completely different person today, and you're in a different set of circumstances, and the facts actually will come out versus just the emotion. And when you start to live in the facts, you realize it's completely different. And this goes back to what we talked about earlier, separating facts and emotion, and trying to live more so by fact than strictly by emotion, and make appropriate decisions relative to that.
Yeah.
So
I like that. I think
yeah.
that's a good place to end it, to be honest
Yeah.
with you. I think we covered a lot in this episode.
I want to end it though with
Okay.
the two most powerful warriors are patient and time. That's how I want to end it. Just,
mic drop.
Yep. Sit
Boom.
on those words.
Can we please make a t-shirt with patient as fuck AF on it? I feel like that'd be pretty cool.
We have about 1 million t-shirt ideas
Comment
right now.
comment back to this podcast if you would wear the shirt Patient AF, and we probably could make that.
I would definitely wear that
And
t-shirt.
if you don't like that, suggest another idea.
Yeah. What t-shirt would you like to see out of all the Thursday Thought topics? Like,
And we'll maybe make them
Hey,
and
and
maybe
if
give
there's a
them out
really good
eventually.
idea-
Say
well-
fuck you to maybe.
hey, it's a good one. I like that one. Yeah. And if there's a really good idea, you might
You'll
get
obviously get the free T-shirt.
something. Yeah, definitely.
If we end up making your shirt, we'll give you one. for
I
free.
like that.
Just
Cool.
one though.
So-
That's it.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks as always. I appreciate Teddy and Cam bringing a topic up that I had no idea about, but hopefully you made it through the movie talk that put you to sleep, and I hope you enjoyed Thursday Thoughts. Talk to you next week.